All right, we're back. We're here with Delano from Damage Control Mouth Guards, and he's going to talk to us a little bit about his damage control mouthpieces. First off, tell us how you got involved in the mouthpiece game.
I used to, or I still do, I do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and there was one time I was sparring with some big kid. I say kid, he was probably 18, but he was a soldier that fought in Iraq.
That's a kid still.
And so me and him were going back and forth. At the time, I used a boil and bite mouth guard, and it was big, it was bulky. So more times than not, I would take it out because I couldn't breathe with it, I couldn't talk with it. It obstructed my speech, so I just put it aside. In this particular instance, when I put it aside, his head collided with my chin, and I fractured both of my 2 front teeth. And so I went to my dentist, and who's my wife, and she says, "Why weren't you wearing your mouth guard?" I said, "Because the thing is bulky, I can't breathe with it." And so she said, "Well, I tell you what, we'll set you, we'll take an impression of your mouth, and we'll give you, we'll make you a custom mouth guard." And so we did that. I got the custom mouth guard back. It was great. It snapped in. I could breathe with it. I could talk with it. And then I went to the gym, and everybody started asking, "Hey, how much does your wife sell those mouth guards for?" And then I said, "I don't know, let me check." And then I came back, and it was a very high price, as all dentists sell mouth guards for. You know, they can charge upwards from $300 to $500. So when I came back with that price, they all of a sudden lost interest. So I said, "You know what?" I started gathering the parts around her practice and trying to, and you know, figuring out her machinery and how to do it. Her assistants and herself taught me how to fabricate it. So I came back at them with a better price, and then they started asking me, "Hey, can you do designs? Can you do Andrei Arlovski fangs?"
Because at the time, that was right around the time Andrei Arlovski was the UFC champion. Right. He had his mouthpiece, and and he was very popular at that point in time. Not that he's not popular now, but that was probably his peak.
That's right, and that's kind of like was his trademark thing, was the fang mouth guard. So, so we figured it out, and then we started, you know, making them and selling them online. We, you know, if you want to buy it, if you live in another state, we send you an impression kit. We refer you to a video. You take your own impression, you ship it back, we fabricate it, and we ship it back to you.
Now, and that's right here, this custom mouthpiece kit. We also sell them in the Fight Shop, New Mexico, here in Albuquerque, if people want to pick them up. So they'll get the kit, they make the impression, they have the video. If they want to design or have a design sent to you guys, is there a way they can upload it and send it to you along with this? How does that work?
Yeah. In the kit is a self-addressed prepaid box that after they're done with the kit, they drop it in there, they send it to us. But also in the kit is an order form where you get to select what type of colored mouth guard you want, what kind of design you want, and then also it has an email on there to send us any images that they want. And so we have 3 graphic artists that work at our office who will really come up with a really good design.
Nice. Now, take us through the boil and bites.
Okay.
I mean, the whole process, is it true you actually went through labs here in New Mexico and got things tested? And I mean, there was a lot of thought behind this. It's not just a mouthpiece.
Correct.
Talk to us a little bit about this.
We did research with Sandia National Labs through the NMSBA program, and what that program is they pay up to $10,000 in research for a small business that has a question that their personnel can only answer. They have the machinery, they have the smartest men in the world working there at Sandia Labs, and so basically how it works is if you qualify, they will spend up to $10,000 researching for you any questions that you may have. And so I qualified, and the questions I had for them was, what's the best type of material out there for the best shock absorption? And 2, how thick does a mouth guard need to be? Because when I first got into business, I always defaulted on the bigger the mouth guard, the better, because intuition tells you that. If it's thicker, it's going to be more shock absorbent.
Sure.
So then I started getting the reputation of the guy who makes the thick mouth guards. So, and then there was different, I read this different literature, there's different, philosophies out there. So those are the two questions I posed to them. And they came back to me and they said, this is the best material and this is the best thickness to use. Because once you, for example, 4 millimeters is the ideal thickness. 3 millimeters is better than 2 millimeters. 4 millimeters is better than 3 millimeters. But when you start getting to 5 millimeters, 6 millimeters, 7 millimeters, it doesn't really it doesn't really absorb more shock or disperse more shock than a 4 millimeter does.
Interesting.
So yeah.
So I actually love this mouthpiece. I do a little bit of grappling myself, and it is the best mouthpiece I've ever felt. It snaps right in. I can talk with it, and it saves my ugly teeth that are pretty messed up. But my kids use them. They love them because they have the U sizes as well, and they do jiu-jitsu and wrestling, so they use them. Who else can use them besides the combat sports world? Because we are on Red Menace TV, and they have the football players, they have the basketball players, they have the soccer players. You could get those boxers. Are those the type of sports you're starting to dabble in?
Yes. Right now, going back to what I said before, these are the maximum thickness. And if you're going to be getting punched and kicked in the face intentionally, this is what you should wear. Preferably our custom, but this is the proper thickness. Now, the issues that we're having with reaching out to other sports is they're saying, it feels a bit too thick. Like, for example, soccer. It doesn't need to be that thick. You're not getting punched and kicked in the face intentionally. So what we're going to be doing this year is we're going to be releasing a lower line that is going to be targeted to other types of sports. But if you compare our mouth guard with the most popular mouth guard at Dick's Sporting Goods store, even though it's thicker, it after you boil it, it grabs onto your teeth, versus a less thicker mouth guard that you can buy elsewhere that's going to be falling all the time when you move around because of gravity. So that's what makes us different from all our competitors, as well as that we, as you can see, we put designs on them because it's kind of a trend in the MMA world. But another difference is that we don't, it's just not a mouth guard just with a cool design. We actually care about comfort. Our motto is breathe better, feel better, fight better. Or if you're in another sport, breathe better, feel better, play better. So if you have a mouth guard that fits great, you're going to be able to breathe better, it's going to feel better, and it's not going to be moving around and obstructing your breath or speech or anything like that. So our focus has always been about comfort and protection.
And with that being said, you are evolving, because you just recently signed a motocross
That's right.
athlete, correct? How did that come about?
One of our employees has a buddy that does motocross, and he does it up to the professional circuits. And so the issues they have is when they hit hills and then they land, sometimes their teeth collide together. And then this one gentleman that we did sponsor, his name is Justin, he said that there's been instances where people actually fractured their teeth lining their bikes. So
holy cow! So this isn't just for combat sports. This can be for football. This could be for motocross. This could be for soccer. Anything and everything that pertains to mouthpieces. This is the guy. He's here. Support local businesses in Albuquerque, New Mexico. If they want to get in contact with you, say there's a team out there, a high school team, a Yaffle team, somebody that wants to get in contact with you, how do they get in contact with you to get their team custom mouthpieces for their team?
Yes, so they can get team designs, like whatever the team is, we can put that on there. We could also add football straps, and if they want to do something like that, we give group discounts. So if they are interested in that, just have them contact our office at 505-804-8941.
Awesome. Go ahead.
And I have one more thing. So we are known. My company is called Damage Control Athletics, and we're known for our damage control mouth guards. And since we have such great talent, in our design team at work, we got into making rash guards. So I got you a couple of gifts from us to you. I know you do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu no-gi.
Yeah.
So those are for you.
So let's go ahead and open them up. And these are for sale as well, correct?
Correct. You can buy these online or you can buy them at New Mexico Fight Shop.
And that's in Albuquerque. So these are the new rash guards that are coming out. And you can wear them under your gis when you're doing no-gi jiu-jitsu. Thank you so
Sure.
much.
You're welcome.
Let's switch gears a little bit.
Okay.
UFC 183. Look, we're already adjusting our chairs. We're ready to talk about it. UFC 183 took place this past weekend.
Yeah.
Anderson Silva's big return from his major injury. Nick Diaz's return from his hiatus and show me the money moments in the past. What were your thoughts on the main event?
Man, Nick Diaz lost the fight, but I think he walked away as the winner of that fight.
Absolutely.
Because he was, he went in there probably 25 pounds less than Anderson Silva. And he stood in his face. How many fighters do that,
Not many. Not many that stay
Yeah.
standing
Yeah.
for the whole 5 rounds. And it was interesting. You're the one that pointed it out at the weigh-ins.
That's right.
Their hand difference, their fist difference. I mean, Anderson was compared to when they stood off toe to toe. I mean, Anderson's hands were noticeably a lot bigger. I didn't notice that, so I looked it up after, and I saw it.
the
And I was
weigh-ins.
like, wow, such a big difference between 170 and 185. Because Nick Diaz came up from 170 to 185. Yeah, he's fought at 185 in other organizations, but when you're hitting the top of the sport, which is the UFC.
Yeah. And fighting the all-time greatest.
Yeah, exactly. You should stay in your weight class. Big props to Nick Diaz. Overall, what did you think of Anderson's performance coming back from that injury?
His boxing was pretty impressive because people say that Nick Diaz has the best stand-up in MMA or the best boxing. I think even Freddie Roach said that.
Yeah.
And Anderson Silva wasn't using much of his kicks boxing because of his injury. So it made for a good exchange, and it really brought light to the boxing ability of Anderson Silva. I was pretty impressed by that.
What was the highlight of that fight, of the 5 rounds for you? Because I'm going to tell you my highlight.
Sure, it might be the same.
It probably is, because I actually put it on my Instagram.
That's right. I saw that was probably like Nick Diaz immediately taunting and kind of playing what Anderson Silva's game was, getting people's heads but what stood out to me mainly is how smart Nick Diaz, how smart and strong-headed a fighter he is. You see him going in there, he's yelling at people, he's taunting at people, and it looks like he's being really emotional and he's trying to get the other person emotional. But in reality, he's not emotional. He just does that to get them emotional. Because what stood out to me is that he wasn't going in there, he wasn't getting anxious, he wasn't getting desperate. Anderson is a counter fighter, and he wasn't buying into that. So he just methodically waited, to get his shots in. He wasn't getting tense because nothing was happening. So I think that's what stood out to me the most is just how smart and strong-headed Nick Diaz is, and unemotional.
Do you feel the decision was the correct decision?
I think so.
I thought it was a lot closer.
Did you really?
Yeah, I
so
really
you think
did.
it should have been more of a split?
I think it could have been a split, and I think it was a lot closer than what people thought. It was everything I wanted to see in a 5-round fight. I didn't want it to end first round, and that's what some people were saying where we were watching it and whatnot, and they were like, oh, it's going to end in the first round. It's going to be a knockout. How much did they pay Nick Diaz to take a dive? There was no taking a dive with this guy, and there never would be. Where does each fighter go from here? Anderson Silva first.
I don't know. It's pretty interesting. It seemed like the press conference, the post press conference, he was talking about. He's been talking over with his family. They wanted to retire, so I don't know. And he was very excited about this victory, but
almost like he won the title.
Yeah, it was kind of weird,
But I guess that's a mental victory. I think more so than anything.
Because coming off
that really bad injury, really bad break, being 39 years old,
I know,
getting in there, being able to perform. I say he should retire. If he doesn't, I like to see him in there with somebody like the likes of Michael Bisping.
Yeah.
Somebody who has a mouth on him, who's gonna not back down.
What about Weidman?
No, no.
You don't think he'll
No.
ever beat Wiedemann?
No, it's gonna anybody in the top 10 that's truly in the top 10. That's why I say Michael Bisping. He's more of a safe fighter. He's more of a Nick Diaz level type of fight for him. Entertainment wise, that'll happen. Anybody top 5, I don't want to see him in there with. He'll get blasted through. I think nowadays his time has come and gone.
Sure.
It happens to the best of us in everything. In terms of Nick Diaz, I know who I want him to fight, and I'll be rooting for it is Carlos Condit. I want to see that rematch. Carlos already called him out on KRQE with Van Tate. He said, hey, he's been talking trash, saying that he won that fight. All I did was run.
Yeah.
Let's rematch him. Bring him back down to 170. Let's
Yeah.
welcome Carlos back into the UFC after his knee injury, and let's get him back together. I mean, that would be a heck of a UFC fight here in Albuquerque, New Mexico. They would sell out the pit. Or I'm sorry, Tingley Coliseum. That's where they hold them.
Yeah.
It would
That'd be awesome.
be a heck of a fight night.
Because you have a lot of New Mexico fans that like the Diaz brothers.
Oh well, they
So
have.
that would be a good.
What we were talking about when we were watching it is they have the New Mexico machismo. I'll stand there and bang with you,
Yeah.
and that's what New Mexicans like. They
Yeah.
just love that style of fighter. I mean, Diego Sanchez is one of them. Carlos Condit, to a degree, is one of them.
Yeah.
Those are the guys they like. You have Fidel Maldonado Jr., who showed it in his last fight. That type of fighting spirit of Albuquerque, of New Mexico. It may not be always the smartest fight plan or game plan, but that's what New Mexico draws to. That's what they're known for.
Sure.
So
That would be good.
That would be the fight I
Yeah.
want to see. Who would you want to see him against?
That's a tough one. I haven't even thought about it. I just Carlos Condit would probably be the top of the list. I just hate to see that because I'm such a big fan of Nick Diaz.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
such a big fan of Carlos Condit. I think the only time I've ever rooted against Nick Diaz was when Carlos Condit fought him because I had to go for the hometown boy. But it's like a bittersweet thing watching that. I remember watching the whole thing just being depressed of like no matter what the outcome was, I wasn't
Sure.
going to be happy. But that's a tough one. He does need to go back to 170, and I'm sure he will. But I would like to see him fight, Hendricks and somebody, some guys in the top 5, I would say.
So you're saying Carlos Condit is in the top 5?
Yeah, definitely. If not Carlos Condit, maybe.
The only reson why I say not those guys is because they're wrestlers.
I know.
And
That's why
he's at a point in his career that he's saying that he wants exciting fights.
Yeah.